Welcome, John Report fans, to another update to the YouTube channel. I'm David K. alongside the main eventer, John Canton.
Rest in peace. Sorry, that's a
That
cue to the Undertaker.
Yep. Because as hopefully you've read by now, John wrote a 6,000 plus word post about the Undertaker that's gotten such great feedback right now. Thanks to all the fans, obviously, for going and posting comments. But we're going to sit here and we're going to have a little conversation about it.
Yeah, I just want to, before we get in, I just want to say it was pretty cool to write it because it's weird. I've been writing online for over a decade now, and I don't know whose matches I've seen the most of in my life as a wrestling fan, but when you think about it, 20 years, and the fact that The Undertaker's been there 20 years, I've probably seen more matches of his than anybody in my life, you know what I mean? Either him or Shawn Michaels, probably. So it's one of those things where I've seen all the good and bad. Like, there was a lot of bad in the early 90s. And you know from doing your list of WrestleMania stuff, too, that his early WrestleMania matches were not very good at all, right?
Right.
But the last 5 or 6 years were really, really good matches, right? With Edge and Batista and Michaels, among others. So you could tell, like, as he got older, he got better and stuff like that. And then it kind of puts everything in perspective. In the early years, it was mostly about the character being this mythical figure that was larger than life, and he was unlike anybody else. And then as he got older, he got humanized, but they still had a lot of the same elements of the character. And I think as a character, is one of the best ever. There's no doubt about it. And I still remember, I still laugh with you about when you first saw The Undertaker live and that at Champions this past year, and you were marking out like I did when I first saw him live when I was 10 years old. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the kind of effect that character has on people. So it's pretty cool, like the way it can reach people, different generations, different years, and he's lasted. He transcends the business. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the great things about the Undertaker that I loved is that he really throughout his career, he really encompassed a lot of what's great about wrestling, as far as a great character, being a great face, being an enormous heel. He had mythical powers, but at the same time
Larger
he was
than life. That's what. Yeah, the mythical powers thing is just like he's a character. He's not. A lot of people like wrestlers that are, has the guy's real name and they portray a real guy with the quote unquote volume turned up, as they always like to say. But in his case, he kind of did that. But then it's also like, okay, this guy's an Undertaker. Like, it's kind of a gimmick, but it works. And he humanized the character at times, and then at other times he made it very gothic and just over the top. Like over the top as a heel, over the top as a babyface, and it works. And I think, like I wrote in the column, I think his talent is what has kept him where he is. Because if they stuck this gimmick on somebody like Psycho Sid, or somebody that's a big guy that's not very good, that person would not last that long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He worked his butt off to get where he is, and I have so much respect for him as a talent. So
I really think one hand fed the other. I think the one thing that really got him over was the respect that he commanded, from being a veteran, from being there forever. And I think that fed the other hand, which was he got the best out of everybody. I mean, if you think of everybody from his manager, Paul Bearer, to the early days of Kane, to Shawn Michaels, to his feud with Edge, and you can keep going down the list, he got the best out of everybody because everybody respected him and trusted him inside the ring.
yeah, like that's what. I put a lot of quotes up. You saw the ones I put up from Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho and CM Punk, and I just wanted to get people to see what other people in wrestling were saying about him, and as far as the respect thing goes. And I just think about also like his feud with Mankind. I didn't really touch on it very much in the column, but they brought Mankind in as a new guy, and they put him against Undertaker right away. And he beat the Undertaker right away. Like, granted, Paul Bearer turned heel on Undertaker,
Right.
but he really sold for Mankind. And you don't have to. A lot of times they bring somebody in and they say, okay, this guy's going to take my spot. I'm going to be a jerk, and I don't want to put him over. I don't want to work with this guy. But he really worked with him.
Bob
He
Holly.
really put him over, and he put him on the map right away. You know what I mean? So it's a big thing.
Exactly. So, I mean, It's shocking though that a lot of people don't have him in their top tens because I mean he doesn't have that flamboyant, flashy I'm gonna follow him attitude. But it's crazy that when you look at people who critique and are follow the business closely, he's almost in the top five as top five workers. And do you think I mean as far as longevity goes as him going down to history, do you think people will remember him as much as they do guys like Shawn Michaels, like Bret Hart, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock? Do you think he'll go down in conversations, even though he was more of a worker rather than a fan favorite?
It's hard to say. Like I think the quotes that I was reading was among his peers he's probably in the top five. You know what I mean? Like Kurt Angle probably puts him in top five. Shawn Michaels probably puts him in top. Bret Hart does. Steve Austin. You know what I mean?
Right.
All these guys who we say are the best. And Ric Flair even said something like that after the WrestleMania 18 match. He says, "I never thought I'd wake up and think somebody else was a better wrestler than me." He was saying that about the Undertaker. So I mean that's huge praise. He also thinks that about Shawn Michaels too. But you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of respect for this guy. So I think as far as us regular fans go, he's not an elite worker because he's got a lot of bad matches on his resume, and you can't deny that he's got a lot of bad matches on his resume. And he probably is the first one to say it. But you see his work with those talented workers. It's not like they carried him. He worked with them. He made them work. He made them look good. He sold for Shawn Michaels. He sold for all those guys. He made them look good. Like he made you think Shawn Michaels was going to be right. His matches with Mysterio are awesome too. Like I remember the one that they had where Mysterio actually injured him last year. Remember when he gave him the plancha and he hit him with a groin to the face, and that actually broke his nose, and that kept him on the sidelines for a bit.
Yep.
That was a good match too. Like they had a match at a Rumble, I think, one year. Like a really good match. Like he's not somebody that gets carried by the smaller guys. You know what I mean? He's there with them and he's working well with them, and for that he gets a lot of respect. For me, he's not in my personal top 10 favorite wrestlers, but he's in my top 20. I just don't know why. Like I think because there's so many bad matches, but again, that's not his fault. That's Vince's propensity for wanting to stick big men versus big men, right? He wants to make Undertaker look vulnerable, so he sticks a big guy opponent against him, beats him up. We've never seen anybody do this to the Undertaker before. How many times have you heard that, right?
Right.
So they want to do that, and then Undertaker comes back and wins the feud. So, but I'd rather see him against the smaller guys. But the problem is when you're babyface and you're fighting smaller guys, it's hard to draw sympathy, right? So that's the booking decision.
Well, I also think
I see both sides as far as people saying he's one of the best ever, and some people saying, he's really, really good, but maybe he's not up there. But to me, he's up there.
Right.
So.
I think another reason is during the time that he was a heel, it wasn't cool to cheer the heel like it is now to watch CM Punk and be a fan of his. You weren't a fan of The Undertaker when he was sitting there doing his ministry stuff to, Stone Cold, or when he was doing his American Badass stuff.
I liked him as American Badass a lot. Like, I popped for him a lot. Like, his promos were awesome. He was just a bully.
But I'm talking more, late 90s when he was the ministry guy.
Yeah, the ministry one I didn't really care for that much.
And exactly. And, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do, and he had good matches. But you look at that and you go, okay, he's a heel. I don't like him, but it's not enough of a dislike to respect him, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, exactly. I totally see what you're saying.
So, and the other thing, I mean, do you think his legend will disappear if he loses a streak at WrestleMania? I know this was a hot topic in the feedback that you've been getting, and I'm sure everyone's had their own opinion on it. I'm surprised you didn't have a poll on it, to be honest. But do you think, it's going to have a major impact whether or not he keeps it or if he loses it?
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to do a small follow-up piece on it and talk about the streak a little bit more, because a lot of people are saying, why does he keep the streak? What's the point? And I think it's one of those things where it's bigger than a title, it's bigger than something like that, and if somebody does beat him, they could go brag about it and say, I'm the guy that stopped Undertaker from being undefeated. But on the other hand, what's the point? It's not a belt. It's not like when Undertaker put Brock Lesnar over and Brock Lesnar says, this is my prize because I beat The Undertaker. It's different. It's just somebody saying, okay, well, I beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. People will just say, well, he's old, right? Or he's injured all the time, so what's the difference? So I don't know if it has as much impact. I just think let the streak go to 20 or whatever, and then he's done. I have no problem with the streak continuing. Why not?
I look at the streak right now as the top prize in the WWE. I mean, think about it. I mean, titles are handed over back and forth,
That's
up
true.
and down, left and right. I mean, it doesn't matter if you beat Triple H anymore. He's not a strong character anymore. It doesn't matter if you beat John Cena because next week you're going to get your ass kicked by him anyways. You know, but the streak is the only thing left that's kind of holy in the world of wrestling. And I'm going to take it to the entire United States, you know, reach of wrestling. It's the top prize right now. I'm not going global because I know there's a lot outside of the States that I don't know about, but I think it's really the top of, you know, the business right now is if you can beat that streak, you're the top guy. It's held in that much regard at least.
That's why they probably won't beat it because it's kind of a draw for WrestleMania. A lot of people will. Vince is probably going to put that match last, and they're probably going to consider Undertaker versus Triple H more of a draw than Cena versus Miz or Edge versus Del Rio, right? So that's where your advertising comes into play. And you don't want to, if you put them 18-1, then it's not as appealing. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's an advertising tool also. I mean, like I said, for a fake sport, I don't like calling it sport, but a lot of people do. For a fake sport, the fact that a winning streak is so important is testament to good booking, I guess, and good job of promoting it.
Yep. Do you think this year it being Triple H versus HBK, do you think it's
You mean
too...
Taker?
What?
You said Triple H versus HBK.
Oh, I meant that. I meant because
Okay.
compared to last year is what I meant.
Okay.
Do you think because it's not Triple H coming first, do you think it's going to lessen the excitement? I mean, obviously you can't beat retiring the Heartbreak Kid, Mr. WrestleMania, at his show, but do you think it's a drastic drop-off to be Triple H after that match last year?
I mean, in terms of smart fans, I think we all know it won't be as good a match as the last 2 years, which are two of the best matches, especially the 2009 one. And I don't think in terms of quality it's going to come really close to that. It might be a 4-star match at best, but you know, two guys coming off injuries that are in their 40s, let's be realistic here. And I think from a mark perspective, they do believe Triple H can beat him probably. I'm sure there are some people that think he has more of a chance than Shawn Michaels. So it is kind of a draw a little bit that way, but I don't think it's more appealing than Shawn Michaels wrestling against Undertaker. Just because Shawn's better. And I think a lot of people know Shawn's better. So
Anything else you want to cover?
that's good. I had a lot of fun writing about Undertaker. I didn't know how long it was going to be. I could honestly say I cut 2,000 words out of the column just because I didn't know where to put it. I just kind of wrote it and didn't order it, and it was a lot of fun, but it was a long read, and I appreciate everybody sticking through 6,000 words.
And well,
I won't be writing that much all the time, obviously, but it was a blast.
Well, I can say from a reader standpoint that, you know, sometimes you read long blog posts and it feels like you're lumbering through it or you're forcing yourself through it, and I didn't feel that way. I mean, it's really a testament to how good of a writer you are that I was hanging on every word all the way to the end. So, as a fan, I got to say thank you for writing all that, and it's definitely appreciated.
Well, it was a lot of fun. I think my style was I didn't want to drag on one topic too long, so I kind of, you know, jumped around and stuff, stuck some pictures in, stuck some quotes, and hopefully, I think I know what I'm doing as far as the writing thing goes. So I had a blast, and we'll see. There's maybe another one coming about The Rock soon.
Cool. Well, I hope you all enjoyed today's YouTube post. Right now, you're probably seeing the our Twitters and all of our stuff pop up, so make sure you're following us. John over at John Report and me over at Dave the Awesome. Make sure you're following John's Facebook page, where I know he gets tons of comments every day about the world of wrestling. And make sure you're jumping over to the www.thejohnreport.net.
Is a playground.
So, all right, everyone, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks.